You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
N2K has teamed up with AWS to bring you AWS in Orbit, a groundbreaking new series that explores the impact of space technology, cloud computing, and generative AI. Hi, I'm Maria Varmazes, and in this series, I speak with industry leaders to give you a nuanced understanding of how these technologies are revolutionizing sectors like sustainability, critical infrastructure, and cybersecurity. So if you're drawn to big ideas and are curious how space and cloud technologies are impacting life here on Earth, this series is for you. Follow the T- Space Daily podcast to catch every episode of AWS in Orbit and visit space.n2k.com/AWS to stay ahead of the curve.
What's the true cost of a single cybersecurity incident? Try $4.3 million, and it's even higher in the United States. Each organization faces more than 1,200 cyber attacks per year. Tally that up, and you're staring down some hefty losses. Getting ahead of these threats requires the right technology for tying cyber risk to business impact, so you can add context to any risk decision, prioritize remediation, and report what matters most to your key stakeholders. LogicGate's Risk Cloud Cyber Risk and Controls Compliance solution makes all of that possible. Learn more at logicgate.com.
My name is Jeffrey Wheatman. I am a Senior Vice President, Cyber Risk Evangelist with Black Kite. Well, I think just like most people my age, I wanted to be an astronaut. I was informed that it would not work because my vision is terrible and I had to wear glasses. And in retrospect, I'm probably better off not being an astronaut. I was always a big science and math guy. And then, of course, when computers came out, I taught myself how to program, not well, but I taught myself how to program. And I think from there, I was really off to the races. I have a somewhat unusual pathway. I actually, believe it or not, started off managing a hardware store in New York City. I was selling plumbing supplies and electrical to a bunch of superintendents in the garment district. And every day I got home and I was more and more unhappy. And I decided one day I like computers. I'm going to go be a computer person. And I put myself through a training class for Novell NetWare 3. So I'm dating myself a little bit. And I found out that I was having way more fun doing that than working in a hardware store. So I first started out as a team manager for a company that installed color printers for MCS Canon back in the day. And what I quickly realized was while I was technical, I was much better at communicating about the technology to non-tech people. So I really found my sweet spot really is as an ombuds function between technical and business people. I built a bunch of consulting practices for some small companies. I ran network operations and cybersecurity, although back then it was called information security at Martha Stewart in New York City. And I did pen testing for a while, and I realized I was not a super good pen tester. So that was sort of my sweet spot, was that communication ombuds function. I spent 15 years at a large IT advisory firm, and I really, really enjoyed that. But what I found was I was so far from the solution, from the problem, that I didn't feel like I was doing a lot of good. And I saw that organizations were really struggling with third-party risk and vendor risk and supply chain risk. And when I stumbled across Black Kite, I really liked what they were doing. I reached out to my now boss, who is our CEO, and I said, I think I can help you make this bigger, better, faster, more. And he agreed. And, 20 months in, I think we've had a lot of really good success. And I feel like I am able to help people solve their problems at a much sort of granular and closer level than earlier in my career when I was, operating at the 50,000 foot level. One of the interesting things about my job is I do so many different things. So my job is really to think about things and talk about the things that I think about. The one thing I've learned in the last year or so is I'm very good at being a connector. So I find people that have stuff to do, and I find people that can do those things, and I make a lot of those introductions. My dad taught me a long time ago. He said, any day where you don't learn something is a wasted day. And I try to make every day an opportunity to learn something new, even if it's a small thing. I think that you can teach technology to people. It's harder to teach them those softer skills. And I think it's something that people constantly have to work on. But at the end of the day, you can be the best at your job. But if people on the other end of that transaction, for lack of a better term, don't understand why what you're doing is important or useful, they don't see the value there. I think being able to put yourself in the shoes of the other person, so empathy for what it is they are going through. I've had conversations with CISOs and I say, so did you talk to your business stakeholder and ask them why they won't do the thing you want? And their response is invariably, well, why would I do that? And I think that is a huge, huge issue, particularly in our career, because it comes across as wizardry for a lot of people. They don't really understand. They don't care. They don't understand why they should care. There's a quote that's attributed to a couple different people that I paraphrase. When you speak with someone, they remember how you made them feel much more than the specifics of what you told them. And if you engage with your audience and they find you interesting, they'll invite you back, and then you have another opportunity to share something. But if you don't engage them at that level and they find you tedious or that you're talking down to them, they won't invite you back. And then you potentially lose really good opportunities to communicate valuable pieces of information, pieces of data, pieces of intelligence, things that will help them make better decisions and be able to understand why certain decisions are more informed. I don't like to say better or worse, but more informed and more defensible. And I just think that, sitting in front of a technical console all the time, while that may be fun, does not demonstrate a tremendous amount of value for the person on the other end of that relationship. I am definitely a lead from the front person. When I did manage people, I only had two rules. One, don't lie to me. And two, don't put me in a position where my boss asks me a question and the best answer I can come up with is duh. I think openness, transparency, I think it's okay to let people know that you don't have all the answers, that you don't know everything. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. And I'm a big believer in sharing those mistakes. And I think it's important to open the raincoat, as it were, and let people understand that we're not perfect. We all need help. And then that way they feel comfortable coming to you and asking for help. And the only way really to do that is to live it, right? Walk the walk and talk the talk. If you find something you love, people will pay you to do it. And I think that loving what you do and really getting down in there and finding enjoyment, not necessarily in every second or every minute, but you do need to end the day feeling that you've accomplished something, that you've done good, that you've shared knowledge. I think the other tidbit I would give, especially for cyber people, I always tell people, don't try to learn it all at once because you're never going to be able to absorb that kind of information. So I think the key is find some stuff, do a deeper dive. If it's something that you really like, maybe you can go deeper still. But I always tell people you want to focus on some different areas across the board, but you're never going to learn everything, really, I think is the point there. I would like people to look and say, that Jeffrey Wheatman guy, the world is a better place for him being in it. And I think that's really what I try to get to. It's what I try to get my kids to think about. Incrementally, I hope the world is better. I hope people feel like they learn something from our engagement. And on the flip side, don't ever want anyone to look back and say, that guy was mean to me, or that guy was inconsiderate, or that guy was unfeeling or uncaring. And I would like the world to be an incrementally better place because I was a part of it.
And now, a word from our sponsor, SpyCloud, the cybercrime analytics leader. SpyCloud disrupts cybercrime by telling you what criminals know about your business and your customers, so you can take action to prevent ransomware, session hijacking, account takeover, and online fraud. SpyCloud constantly recaptures and analyzes new data from the criminal underground, including credentials, session cookies, and PII siphoned from malware-infected devices. With knowledge of the specific exposed data criminals have in hand from InfoStealer malware on managed and unmanaged devices, security teams can respond with a more efficient and effective process called post-infection remediation that fits seamlessly into existing incident response frameworks. Get SpyCloud's post-infection remediation guide outlining the 7 steps for preventing a malware infection from becoming a full-blown ransomware incident. Visit spycloud.com/cyberwire. That's spycloud.com/cyberwire. And we thank SpyCloud for sponsoring our show.